Hey everyone, Nathan Nerdark here from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds. Today we're going to be talking about the player character race from the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which is a free PDF download. And with me I have...
I'm Ted.
Dave.
And the Goliath looks really cool to me. I'm not familiar with it except for this page here. Because I think they were a 4th edition race, you guys were telling me.
Yeah,
And,
I don't know if they had any incarnations in 3rd. If it was towards that. It might have been in the Races of Stone.
I think so. That might be where they came from.
Yeah, the very end.
But ability-wise, kind of flavor, they're really cool looking.
But these guys are dicks. They really are. Like, it's like if you can't keep up with the tribe, like,
they're
your way around.
They're like the barbarian tribe on, put up in the mountains. Like, all the life is harder.
Yeah,
it's like, no, go to the barbarian tribes that live down the hill.
It actually talks about how there are no old Goliaths. Like, there's no wisdom in their tribes because all the old ones have to go off and die, and they're very much like, they also kind of don't want to live to old age either. Mm-hmm. Like, they don't want to get infirm or weak.
Well, I mean, they see what happens.
So they're like Vikings. They're like mountain Vikings.
Well, I mean, you have their race based off of giant lineage, because I mean they are technically part giant.
Yeah, it's surprising too that they didn't give them the giant subtype.
I think they wanted to avoid that actual aspect, because
they're like, the DMs will just hit them with giant slaying things.
So.
Yeah, so I mean they get that boost to strength and they get that boost to con, so 2 and 1. So I mean it's just like, they're beefy. The age lifespan similar to humans, so not much of a difference there. Except that when you get weaker as you get older,
you probably can't survive and they're gonna leave you to die.
They're probably gonna leave you to die.
They actually get a really nice suite of mechanics. Like you mentioned, +2 strength, +1 to con. Age stuff. They're pretty much the same as humans, except for they don't live as long because it's living on a mountain's hard,
Yeah. And
then their size, they're freaking ginormous. They're 7 to 8 foot tall, so they're biggins.
Indeed.
And that's the average. So you could actually probably push that out a little bit if you wanted to. Natural athletes, so they get proficiency with the athletic skill. Nice.
Always nice, especially when they're getting that strength bump.
Stone's endurance, freaking awesome ability.
Mm-hmm.
As a reaction, they can just take a D12 less damage.
Not as cool as the half-orc's ability, but I think more useful overall.
Well, let's look at that. The half-orc's ability is usable once a day. This is once per short rest.
Oh, that's even better.
Shorter long rest, and it's a die 12 plus their con modifier. So let's face it, these guys are warriors for the most part, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So you're looking at a 14 or a 16 con at first level, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I would go. And so you're looking at 4 to 15 hit points just denying that damage. That's at first level, that's another barbarian hit die.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I'll just shrug that off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, per short rest, that's pretty nice.
And think about it, if you're... And these guys are keyed up to be barbarians, right?
Right.
So, if you look at it that way, a die 12 plus your con modifier, and you're raging, you're taking half damage. So it really... in essence, kind of doubles the effectiveness of this ability.
That's true.
And the half-orcs, while is really sweet, it's very conditional. Like, you got to be dropped, or they can be like, "Oh, I just got hit by a crit. Let's reduce that by a little bit."
That's right.
So I like it. I think.
I
good.
I definitely like it.
The short rest, really, if they had made it a long rest, it would have been, I think, a bad ability.
But they're not going to beat them around like our Earth Gensei, the stepchild of this of this whole companion.
Yeah.
And they also have powerful build. So count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and weight. You can push, drag, and lift,
which is a big deal.
So they're carrying a ton of crap.
I think
needs a mule when you got a Goliath.
I think the key part there is lift. So if you've got to
body slam an owlbear.
I was thinking more along the lines of that.
Ben bars lift gates.
Back to 2nd edition, that whole the portcullis is coming down. I need to I need to roll my Ben bars lift gate.
It's like it's like your own personal ogre lifting it.
It's just like that. Well, my barbarian grappling Goliath needs to body slam owlbears. And they're mountain born, which, I don't know, does some stuff. High altitudes doesn't bother me.
It gives you cold climate, as if you're naturally adapted to cold climates, which I think makes it so that you don't take the damage that you would in normal situations.
Yeah,
so like everyone else up on the mountain is like, I'm
freezing their balls off.
I'm dying
like,
slowly.
He's wearing like a tank top.
Yeah.
He's a barbarian. He's shirtless. What are you talking about?
Just a loincloth and a shield. Boom.
And back to that, why didn't they make them giants? You can speak, read, and write common and giant.
Yeah.
So getting access to giant, I think, is kind of cool.
They're giant and everything but name.
Yeah. So I agree that having the giant as a language is cool, and I mean they definitely get a good amount of abilities here that are all thematic.
Absolutely. So on to classes. I mean, they clearly make excellent barbarians. They make good fighters.
Good rangers, strength-based rangers.
Yeah, you could definitely do strength-based rangers, fight with 2 weapons, and totally tank the crap out of people.
Could make an interesting paladin.
Could make an interesting paladin, yeah. You're already aiding the party. Now you're just you're doing that protection thing to give them disadvantage.
I mean, this guy looks really awesome in leather with cool stitching on it, but he would look really awesome in full plate.
Yeah. With a holy nimbus.
Low dex paladin, yeah. Full plate. Beautiful.
Well, so the other thing too, though, like we did a video on grappling. These guys would be badass grapplers.
Absolutely.
I mean, we already know athletics is like a must.
Yeah, and they get it to start,
and they get it, and they get that big strength to start with, plus 2. Their powerful build means they can move people around fairly easy. Like they never, it's never going to be a matter of size. And like, so here's the thing, like as a DM, do you go, okay, you guys can actually technically grapple with large because
absolutely
you are large.
I mean, for the powerfully built, you gain all the advantages of being large without actually being large. Is the way I read that.
I would read it as you get those abilities, but you don't necessarily you don't count as one larger when shoving. When you push, drag, or lift, does that? Well, I mean, would that count? I mean, shoving is pushing, so would that count?
I would totally say it.
That is,
or is that when you're pushing a rock?
They're talking to a specific thing.
Yeah, that's
previous
what I thought.
Previous editions, powerful build would actually let you use oversized weapons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're not doing that here.
No.
But I mean, you're moving. You're doing feats of strength as if you were large. And let's go. How big is an ogre? 9 foot tall.
Yeah.
He's 8 foot.
I think 9 or so.
He's 8 foot. Even 10 foot. That's a 2 foot difference. That's not really. That's not really that big of a difference when you're talking about, little fisticuff action.
Well, I mean, probably a half ogre would be a better example of a.
Well, half ogre is 9 to 10 feet tall.
So
if you're 8 and the ogre's 9 or 10,
you guys are close. It's not like. It's not like a midget trying to wrestle a giant. It's
the halfling versus an ogre.
The half ogre, it's counted as a large giant and stands 8 foot tall.
Yeah, so that's a good example of.
So it's technically in this situation you could be as big or bigger than
the half ogre, who is large. So I would probably give it to him.
And there must be some mechanic for why they did not actually say you count as a large creature.
Because 5th edition likes to leave things as ambiguous to give the DM control over that situation.
It's not about it, because otherwise you get 3rd edition and get all over again, and every mechanic the DM no longer has to think because everything's spelled out.
And then you have what I see right here on page 37.
Yeah, fold that.
I distinctly remember that happening in a game.
Well, exactly. So if you go with this, you can make your case to the DM, and maybe he'll be like, "Yeah, that makes sense," or maybe he'll squash you like a bug.
So basically, the DM will be the gatekeeper in a sense for whether or not you can use larger weapons.
Yes.
Whether or not you count as actually being large.
Yeah, like reading this, I would say no. They definitely nixed you on the larger weapons.
Well, yeah, because they're saying you're medium, but you have all the kind of benefits of being a larger creature.
Not all.
See,
one specific.
Well, yeah.
But, so going back to that, but for grappling, I go, all right, you know what? I'll give you large. And if you take the feet, then I'll let you grapple huge. So,
See,
you're Goliath.
I would be, kind of inclined to let them give it a shot.
What's that?
Doing the oversized weapons.
But oversized weapons it's a big difference. Your 2d6 are going to 2d8, and I don't know what a die 12 goes to. I think it might also go to 2d8.
I'd have to look at that.
It goes to die 16.
A die 16?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, a friend of ours online, I can't remember who did it now, but he was doing half ogre and like a right-up race, and we both came up separately with the idea of basically when you use versatile weapons that usually require two hands, when you use them one-handed, you get the extra,
the bigger die.
So a longsword in a half ogre's hands. And
I think that would actually be a good compromise.
Because you want to have it do something, but you don't want to say, use a giant great club that does twice as much damage as everybody else's weapon.
Because with enlarge, right? When you enlarge someone, don't you just do double damage?
Yeah, well, in the monsters manual, yeah. I don't know what.
No, with the spell too. I think.
I think the spell is nerfed.
I think it says that if you cast it on yourself, you grow and your weapons grow along with you. And I think it says use the higher die.
There's no. I don't think. No, it's the third edition. And I don't think there's a higher die.
I have to look at that.
I think I just think they double it up.
I know they double it when you're in the monster.
The Dugar does.
The monster does.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that when.
I think they do.
There's a reason I didn't take enlarge as a character, and it was because I read it. So I'm pretty sure it does not double.
Well, but let's face it, as a caster, being big and jumping into melee isn't really a great option anyway.
Dude, hurling huge javelins, baby. You can do other stuff that will do double damage.
No, but the problem is when you hurl the javelin, it turns back to a regular sized javelin when it leaves your hand.
We're not talking about the Duergar.
I know.
Because
they actually break the rule. Their enlarge lets them hurl the large javelin, so and it doesn't shrink down.
So yeah, that was both of ours for
half ogre.
Yeah, without giving them that big ridiculous weapon.
I think that's a good
compromise.
Good compromise.
Yeah. So I mean, I would argue that Goliaths could probably do that, but.
So you're saying Goliaths could wield a longsword one-handed and do a D10?
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, if we were like hung up on they get so many benefits that only a large creature would get, but
Well, but they don't really. They just get that one thing. It's your carrying capacity. How much weight you can move. So, but like from that you can extrapolate and go, okay, well, you know what? I think they can grapple with large because, as we just saw, they're nearly as big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the common sense edition where you can go, okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
as it's written, no, but as it's interpreted by the DM.
All right. So now I need to find a DM who's going to let me play a ranger fighting with two huge longswords.
No, they're just regular longswords.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. The longswords that are doing a D10.
Yeah, I would allow that. Screw it. I mean, it takes a lot of investment anyway. You to do it for one, you still have to take the feet.
The feet,
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, at 4th level, sure, go for it. Up until then, you're stuck using that light weapon in the other hand.
Done and done.
I think. So you can use a short sword and a long sword until you get there.
We should have a mountain man, one shot.
A mountain man one shot.
We're just all Goliaths.
Yeah. Well, then I got dibs on the Goliath grappler.
Okay.
I think we missed these guys for our grappling video.
Yes,
I think so.
Since they weren't out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did we scale the mountain?
I think we did. They're pretty much any martial class, or you could totally just be like, all right, I'm gonna go
barbarian. They're just meant to be barbarians.
You could go cleric and just be a badass with Stroganoff damage.
Well, they may.
That damage shrug off really is beneficial for any class. Yeah,
I could definitely see the Tempest. I mean, War too, but the Tempest just seems thematic. I don't know. I just picture him on the friggin' mountain with his hammer, friggin' getting struck by lightning. Thematically, I just find it cool, I guess.
So
throwing it up.
What do you guys out there think? Are the Goliaths too crazy? Are they cool? What do you think about our customized rule options under the powerful build? Put it in the comments below. While you're doing that, feel free to click like, share, subscribe.
You guys can check us out at nerdarchy.com, and also we do have a Patreon, so if you want to help us out, help us upgrade our equipment and bring you a better show, we'd really appreciate it.
You can also check out our Facebook page and join the conversation over on Reddit.
So until next time, stay nerdy.